Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another episode of What Talk. It's been a while, but I'm back for episode 4. I want to finish all of the What Talk episodes plus the review of the season sometime this week, so I'll probably have a What Talk video every day, Monday through Friday this week, hopefully. And then I'll have the review on Saturday. I'm not too sure if that's how it's going to work out, but that's how I want it to work out. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos, and let me know what you guys think about the series down below. So yeah, today we're looking at episode 4, The Dragon Reborn, which is an interesting title because none of the characters that show up are the dragon. However, it is more of a lore setup system, like episode. And so that's why it's kind of called The Dragon Reborn, because it's explaining, hey, this is what the dragon is. This is how you're going to see who the dragon is and stuff like that. And it's pretty interesting. So it opens up with a battle. We follow this guy who happens to be a king, and it turns out that he's the king of Galdrin, and he's being chased by Logain, and he's running away super fast, and Logain's just casually walking behind him, kind of following him to the inevitable end of the line there. And we get to see Logain channeling, and of course, where Moiraine and the Aes Sedai channel white, he channels black. However, you can see that there's white in that black, so of course this is the taint that is over the channeling, over the one power. It's pretty interesting. We also get to see that he hears whispers, and the taint is part of the stuff that kind of whispers to him, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, the king ends up alone. Logain talks to him. We hear the whispers of madness in the background, and then in the final moment, Logain heals the king instead of kills him, and talks to him about how, hey, everyone is welcome at my side. Just join me, and together we'll walk to the White Tower and, you know, topple their tower or whatever. Pretty interesting. I actually really like Alvaro Morte in this. It's very interesting because it's very different from all of the other characters that he's played. If you see all of his work, he's mostly typecast as this intelligent, slightly socially awkward guy. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's evil, sometimes he's morally gray. It depends, but usually he's typecast as this intelligent kind of awkward guy. And I like that. I think his work as the professor in Money Heist is really, really good. And I think that he's doing a pretty good job with Logain so far. I don't know too much about Logain. I've only read the first 3 books, and the only time we ever see Logain is when he gets paraded through Camelin. But I think that he's doing a pretty interesting job with his character, and I like that. So yeah. Then we switch over to the Aes Sedai camp. Moiraine has finally made it to a Aes Sedai camp. We get to see that it's mostly greens and reds. In fact, it's exclusively greens and reds, which is interesting. But it makes sense, right? If you got a guy that can channel, you want the reds in order to gentle him in case something goes wrong, and to control, you know, the laws of the one power. Then you want the green, which are probably the most powerful in terms of like fighting, to be there in case a fight happens, right? So I think that's a really good, interesting little bit of world building there that is probably going to go unnoticed for most people unless they, you know, pay attention to the Aja explanations that we get throughout the episode, right? So pretty interesting there. So yeah, Moiraine gets healed by Karine, and then she's brought to see Logain, and she joins the shielding effort, which happens to also show us that Moiraine is being physically strained by containing Logain, which means that Logain has a lot of power because it's taking at least 2 Aes Sedai at any given moment to, you know, stop him. However, he's barely even struggling with the shielding. He's just kind of chilling there, so that's pretty interesting. Then we get to see Lan and Stepan. Now, I don't know who Stepan is. I've never heard of this character before. And I don't know if he's a show exclusive or he's someone that shows up in the new Spring novel. But either way, Lan and Stepan are running through Katas, and we get to learn a little bit of the tower politics through the eyes of the warders, which is pretty interesting. And mostly this chapter and the next, or this episode and the next, do focus a lot on the politics of the White Tower, which on one hand I think is interesting, and it kind of fits the medieval show aesthetic. However, it does seem a little bit boring and unnecessary sometimes, because who cares? It's not important to set this up so far behind when eventually you'll get the point where, you know, the Black Odgers show up again, and then you can talk about the politics. and why this is happening, what this means. However, they want to foreshadow this and kind of make this an irrelevant thing as early as possible so it doesn't come out kind of out of nowhere later, right? But I do find that sometimes it is a little bit boring to kind of see all of these moments of politics being explained to people. So I don't know. On one hand, I like it. On one hand, I think it's kind of unnecessary. Of course, we get to see a little bit of the Tinkers heading towards Tar Valon, and then we go back to Matt, Tom, and Rand, who are running along the forest. And then we come back to Logain, right? And we get this interesting tidbit of information here that is that women can't see weaves done by men. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if this is actually the case. I don't think I've ever seen this acknowledged in the books up to the 3 that I've read. And it sounds kind of arbitrary. Like, why would you do that? Because I'm pretty sure men can see weaves that women do, right? So why is this arbitrary difference there? So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. We also get this little bit of interesting conversation that I don't understand, but it's Alana and Moraine chatting about a dog that Moraine used to have, but the way they talk about it doesn't sound like it's a dog. It sounds like they're talking about a girl that, like, Moraine basically was, like, what's it called? Like, stringing along in a relationship of some sort. However, I might be reading too much into that, but the way that they talk about it doesn't feel like they're talking about an actual dog. It feels like they're talking about a person in, like, a, what's it called? Like, in code, basically. And it's kind of interesting, I guess, but it is pretty odd. Again, we get to see that Logain is powerful, and we get a little bit of Aes Sedai lore in terms of, like, hey, the blues are this, the greens are that, and, you know, this is what they're supposed to do. Like, the blue Aja basically goes around and gathers information, and the green Aja are the battle Aja, the ones that are going to be the powerful warriors, and so basically they're all their own little tiny army unit with the Aes Sedai and her multiple warders, right? So, cool. Then we get to see Nynaeve in the camp. She's kind of far away from everyone. Leandrin shows up, tries to talk to her. And then immediately after she leaves and Lan comes in, Nynaeve's like, that woman's a snake, which I thought was pretty funny. But I love that Nynaeve has such a well understood kind of like, hey, these people are this type of person quite easily. Again, Tom and the boys, they're sleeping in the barn. This is to take that one scene in The Eye of the World where Tom sacrifices himself. This is like the setup for that scene, so there you go. Again, we get some more Nynaeve and Leandrin talking there. They get explanation about the Aja again, which I think is kind of annoying. Like, why are you explaining this so much? I understand that it's necessary for people to learn this. However, you could easily do this once or twice, but I feel like they do it like 6 times in this episode and the next, so I think it's a lot. It's unnecessary, right? But yeah, so again, we get the Tinkers once again, and I'm not sure I love the way they're weaving the different storylines at the same time. However, it makes sense that this would be the case because that's how it happens in the books. It's kind of annoying to switch between the 3 storylines that are happening at the same time because there's definitely some that are more interesting than others. So there you go. Let's see. Matt gets sick. The dagger finally affects him, and you know, the eyeless finds them, and you know, well, the eyeless doesn't find them yet, but it's still set up for that scene. However, Tom explains to Rand that, you know, his nephew Owen was gentled, and he kind of explains what that is and how it works, which again is very interesting Aes Sedai lore, and it's finally something that is meaningful because this is, you know, foreshadowing what's going to happen to Logain at the end of the episode, right? So yeah, back to the Aes Sedai, and here's where, you know, stuff kind of gets interesting. The warders are talking to Nynaeve about their relationship with their Aes Sedai, how it kind of works, what it is. Lan and Moraine have this short little chat that really doesn't do anything except kind of show you, hey, the warders and the Aes Sedai are connected, and what one does affects the other, and like back and forth, right? So interesting, but they already explained it with the fireplace scene with Nynaeve, or the fire camp thing. beforehand. They didn't really have to show it again with Lan and Moraine. Whatever. It's a lot of redundancies. It's necessary, but it is a little bit annoying, right? So yeah. And then the Tinkers are having fun, and Illa explains her story to Perrin, and Egwene learns about the song, right? So yeah, again, we're back with Rand. He has a dream. He sees the other boys. They're all kind of bloodied or, kind of doing something. The Dark One shows up, and then he wakes up, and there's a mirror draw around them, and Tom sacrifices himself. It doesn't have that much of an impact because Tom hasn't been around since the first episode like he was in the Eye of the World. Like, when Tom sacrifices himself, halfway through the Eye of the World, it means something because he's been around, he's been trying to help the boys, and he's been a kind of secondary influence on the boys besides Moraine and Lan that is kind of like more in line with what they understand. However, here, it doesn't feel that important. So it just kind of sucks, but also understandable, I guess. And then finally, the big meaningful part of the episode is when Logain finally breaks free after, stuff happens, right? But before that, Lan is praying to Malkier. He's doing this kind of like Japanese-looking ceremony. And then Nynaeve walks up, and she does this thing where she says a sentence in the old tongue. Lan explains it to her, and there we get to see the beginnings of the importance of Lan to Nynaeve and the development of their romance slowly but surely happening, right? So I like that a lot. I think it's really well done. But yeah, eventually Logain's going to break out. This happens because an army attacks, led by the King of Gjaldrin. And then we get to see a lot of cool magic happening. Like, Alana stops all of the arrows in the air. She turns them and then uses them to kill the people that are attacking them. And we get to see how Aes Sedai and warders fight, and how the warders protect their Aes Sedai as their Aes Sedai are preparing their weaves, which I thought was really, really cool. Logain frees himself. Moraine talks to him as one, to stall him, but also to find out what the hell's going on, because Moraine wants to know why he would be the Dragon Reborn. They have this kind of slightly philosophical discussion there about how he can hear everyone that was a dragon before him, and why that means that he is the Dragon Reborn. Moraine says that, hey man, your power is powerful, but it's not even a speck compared to the son that is going to be the Dragon Reborn. And then Carini dies. Logain is shielded once again. There's this explosion caused by Steppen throwing his axes at Logain, which means everyone is starting to die because everyone got hit by axe shrapnel. And then Nynaeve walks in and channels. She looks like a sun, and then heals everyone around her. Logain is impressed, but then Logain is gentled. Moraine joins in with Liandrin and then all of the other sisters that are around them in order to gentle him, which is of course what they said they weren't going to do, but they took the opportunity to do so. So that's kind of what's going to happen there. Now, when I first watched this episode, I actually really liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. However, looking back on it, I feel like half of this episode was stuff that could have been done faster. And I say this because next episode, there's a lot of stuff that I feel was unnecessary or that could have been changed in order to be more meaningful in terms of like adapting the original work better than just kind of coming up with these things to kind of further explain things that have already been said to us. So I don't know, but that's all there is to this, I think. I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna end up feeling by the end of this of the series, because the first time I watched it, I enjoyed it. The second time I watched it with my family, I also enjoyed it. However, the last episode really kind of soured me a bit on the show. And this time that I'm kind of rewatching it for these videos, I'm starting to notice a few more things, and I'm realizing that, hey, some of this stuff is kind of boring, and maybe it could have been better if we restructured the series a certain way. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what that is and how that's going to end up making me feel at the end of the review. However, partially, some of it is because I've already watched a lot of these episodes at least 3 times, and some of it is because, you know, the ending soured me. So now that all of the stuff that before I was able to kind of be okay with, I'm now a little bit more nitpicky of. So I don't know. Kind of sucks, but it's also kind of understandable. So we'll see how it ends up being. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.